Fort Monroe, the ultimate opportunity. Throughout the world, there are few icons of geography that bear the significance of Fort Monroe. 4 centuries of history call this peninsula in the Chesapeake Bay home. Now, the opportunity has arrived for the private development of Fort Monroe and Old Point Comfort, which surrounds it, in partnership with the Commonwealth of Virginia, as the Army prepares to leave in 2011. The history that must be told. History flows in the waters at Fort Monroe. Captain John Smith established the first fort here a decade before the Mayflower landed at Plymouth Rock. Chief Black Hawk was imprisoned here for attempting to stop U.S. expansion into Native American lands. Army Private Edgar Allan Poe wrote his early stories here. At one point, U.S. Army Lieutenant Robert E. Lee was even in charge of construction here. Abraham Lincoln tried unsuccessfully to negotiate peace here. Ulysses S. Grant strategized war from here. Confederate President Jefferson Davis was imprisoned here. The road to freedom. In 1861, Commanding General Benjamin Butler gave 3 runaway slaves sanctuary here, followed by 10,000 more, earning Fort Monroe the name Freedom's Fortress. The road to the Emancipation Proclamation begins here. The mission to teach newly freed African Americans created what is now Hampton University. Yes, history is alive at Fort Monroe. Hospitality's historic home. Hospitality cohabits with history at Fort Monroe. In fact, Captain John Smith named this peninsula Point Comfort in 1607. Fort Monroe's welcoming spirit is reaching new and historic dimensions. The Commonwealth of Virginia will transform this beautiful environment into the place a new generation will call home. For Captain John Smith, Fort Monroe was strategic. The nearly 360-degree views across the waters made unexpected attack impossible. As Fort Monroe's purpose transforms from military to civilian, this waterfront panorama will provide the modern resident, merchant, or visitor nearly limitless unobstructed vistas of the Chesapeake Bay and Hampton Roads Harbor. Fort Monroe, which covers 570 acres, boasts 292 historic homes and apartments and over 1 million square feet of commercial space for rehabilitation or adaptive reuse. Fort Monroe's reuse plan envisions a total of 1,041 residential units, with new units coming from adaptive reuse and new development. The plan also calls for new resort and related retail development. The outstanding location, history, and features of Fort Monroe Old Point Comfort give it the potential to be a major resort destination with the right development partner. Fort Monroe offers an exciting opportunity for both historic preservation and new development. The authority is pursuing private partnerships with development partners with experience in preserving America's historic treasures, as well as building new mixed-use communities in unique locations. As we look boldly into the future, we must keep our eye firmly on the past. The past will be present as we repurpose these shared treasures. The public, fascinated with history, will walk these hallowed grounds and visit its museums. The Inner Fort and the historic village will complement America's historic triangle: Yorktown, Colonial Williamsburg, and Jamestown, as one of America's most dynamic tourist attractions. In fact, The Virginia Tourism Corporation reported that tourism annually totals 35 million visitors.
We welcome you to the revolutionary city.
The stories that were lived out here need to be told again and again, generation to generation. The history and the future of Fort Monroe belongs to all. An open invitation. This once highly controlled community will now open and welcome all to live, work, and visit this transformed community. Everyone will enjoy Fort Monroe's enhanced public personality. Fort Monroe has been central in American history for more than 4 centuries. Now, Fort Monroe is the epicenter of one of America's, in fact, the world's, most attractive metropolitan centers. The 7 cities of Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Newport News, Hampton, Portsmouth, and Suffolk all combine to thrive individually and collectively. Hampton Roads is notable for its year-round ice-free harbor for the United States Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, NASA, Marines, and Army facilities, shipyards, coal piers, and hundreds of miles of waterfront property and beaches, all of which contribute to the diversity and stability of the region's economy. Major corporations headquarter here. Millions vacation here. World-class universities educate here. Musical trends are started here. Culture flourishes here. And most importantly, families are nurtured here. Nearly 2 million people live here. In the center of all of this, the Fort Monroe Peninsula. Here you will find over 3 miles of waterfront of the Chesapeake Bay, dune beaches, shallow water for canoeing and sculling, a 332-slip wet storage marina, a travel park for recreational vehicles, miles of jogging paths, and a 9-story former hotel fully restored as a condominium development. All of this is just a day trip by car from a large portion of the U.S. population, or a comfortable flight from anywhere in the world. In fact, the Fort Monroe development is a short 1-hour flight from Newport News to New York and a 3-hour drive from Washington, D.C. Going green. Great open spaces will be a hallmark of the renewed Fort Monroe. Visitors and residents alike will enjoy expanded public beaches, restored and protected natural environments, recreational fields and walking trails, including a continuous public waterfront esplanade. Sustainable changes. Modern economic sustainability will thrive at Fort Monroe. As the military population leaves, they will be replaced by new residents. New jobs will be created by the dynamic synergy of private and public partnership. Shops, workspaces, hospitality for tourists, meeting services, lodging, and local recreation will all be at home in the renewed Fort Monroe, Virginia's great waterfront destination. The past is present in the future. New development at Fort Monroe will be welcome and environmentally focused. New buildings, residential and commercial, will be seamlessly integrated into the historic landscape, following well-developed standards to continue the character established by existing historic buildings. New addresses will be created with accessibility to key Fort Monroe destinations. Balanced transportation options will unify the community, including walking, cycling, public transport, and automobiles. Bold, careful, and studied plans will respect historic buildings with creative new uses. New development tailored to this historic setting will blend into the cozy spaces of old Fort Monroe. Culture, too, will find comfort here, as well as all of the sophistications of modern life. Now we have come full circle. With new partners, the strategic service of this magnificent fort is complete. You are invited to become a developmental partner in the preservation of Fort Monroe's historic buildings and create new dynamic addresses here in history's home. To bring your family and to make the cozy spaces of Fort Monroe your home. To relocate your business to the region's most attractive and prestigious settings. To visit Fort Monroe and Old Point Comfort and enjoy its natural beauty and open spaces and learn all that history has to say. Join us. The time has come for Fort Monroe again to be Virginia's historic point of comfort.